Two people earn the exact same salary. Let's say $75,000 a year. Fast forward a decade or two, and one of them is financially free, while the other is still stuck living paycheck to paycheck. Why does that happen? In this video, I'm breaking down the real differences in habits, mindset, and day-to-day decisions that quietly decide whether someone ends up rich or broke. You'll see clearly how two people with the same income can live completely different financial lives over time. The first thing we have to admit is this: how much you make is only one piece of the wealth puzzle. Unfortunately, it's the shiny piece that gets all the attention. Income is fun to brag about, way trendier to discuss at dinner, and far more socially rewarded than the boring money habits that actually keep you stable. The results show up in the data. A 2024 payment study found that 1/3 of people earning over $200,000 a year report living paycheck to paycheck, and 48% of people making more than $100,000 are in the same boat. So how can that be? You'd assume that someone pulling in a high six-figure income would be rock solid financially. The average US household income hovers around $75,000. So how are people making 2.5 to 3 times that amount still stressed about next Friday? It comes down to 3 common mistakes that can leave you broke even with a solid paycheck. Mistake number 1: lifestyle inflation. The fastest way to erase a raise is to spend it, just because you can. The classic book, The Millionaire Next Door, studied the wealthy in the US and found that the people who actually accumulate money tend to keep their lifestyles modest, even after their income rises. That's the opposite of what most people do. A personal example: I make coffee at home instead of dropping $5 on a latte. Partly it's because I weirdly love burnt, diner-style drip coffee. It's like hot, slightly bitter water and I'm obsessed. But it's also because coffee is pricey and I drink it every day. That one tiny habit keeps my baseline lifestyle low. For you, it might look different. Maybe you skip Spotify Premium and tolerate a few ads. The point is the same: keep recurring lifestyle costs under control. On the flip side, people who look rich on the surface are often buried in payments. Doctors and lawyers frequently have above-average incomes, but they also carry the big-ticket signals: luxury cars, larger homes in expensive neighborhoods, private schools, plus leftover student loans. The math gets tight quickly. My favorite concept from The Millionaire Next Door compares money to a sport. Income is offense. Spending control is defense. As the authors put it, great offense with poor defense equals underaccumulation of wealth. The foundation of getting rich is defense, anchored by planning and a real budget. Translation: a big paycheck can't outrun sloppy spending for long. Defense is the part you control every single month. Mistake number 2: too much debt. Credit cards and personal loans make it dangerously easy to live ahead of your means. Monthly payments on depreciating assets, like cars, quietly siphon away your future wealth. Picture 2 friends, Graham and Humphrey, each earning $75,000. Graham has $5,000 in credit card debt at 20% APR. To wipe it out in a year, he's committing roughly $500 a month to principal plus interest. That $500 can't go to investing, emergency savings, or anything else that compounds. Humphrey, meanwhile, carries no high-interest debt. He can invest that same $500 a month into a broad stock market fund earning, say, 8% annually. After 1 year, he's put away $6,000, and the compounding has started. Let that roll for decades, and that single year's $6,000 can snowball to well over $60,000 about 30 years later. Stretch the timeline, and the gap becomes massive. If 2 people earn $75,000, but one carries a large revolving credit card balance while the other doesn't, their net worth trajectories will separate quickly. A lifelong milestone to aim for: no consumer debt, credit cards at 0, car fully paid off, with a mortgage as your only possible long-term liability. Paying interest on a shrinking asset is the exact opposite of wealth building. Mistake number 3: no tracking, no plan. It's very easy to overspend when you're not measuring anything. Early in my career, my company provided free lunch. Still, I'd wander out to the deli for variety and spend on sandwiches. 1 month, I added it up. More than $150 on lunches I didn't need. It wasn't the sandwich, it was the lack of awareness. Humans are notoriously bad at estimating how much we spend, especially when we pay with plastic. An MIT fMRI study found that using credit cards activates the brain's reward centers, the striatum, regardless of price. And it reduces the pain of paying because handing over cash is no longer part of the experience. Cash, on the other hand, triggers a weaker reward signal and a stronger sense of loss. In plain English, swiping feels good and doesn't hurt, which nudges us to spend more without noticing. If you don't know where your money goes, you're far more likely to overspend, postpone saving, and end up living paycheck to paycheck. If you do track it, you naturally self-correct. You invest more, save more, and keep your lifestyle in check. What I do: I log spending daily in an app. You can do pen and paper, and summarize everything once a month in a Google Sheet. If you want the same kind of template I use to track monthly expenses and net worth, I'll drop it below. Totally free, so you can copy it and start today. Those are the 3 habits that tend to lead to being broke, even at the same income. Now, let's flip to the 3 habits that push you toward wealth. Habit number 1, invest early. Time is your edge. Back to Graham and Humphrey. Same $75,000 income. Humphrey starts at 20, putting $2,400 a year into the market for 10 years, age 20 through 29-30, then stops adding new money and lets compounding do its thing. Graham spends his 20s living large. At 30, he gets serious and starts investing $2,400 a year, but he has to keep contributing for the next 35 years, age 30 through 35. 65. Who ends up with more by 65? It's shockingly not the one who contributed longer. Humphrey put in $24,000 total. Graham contributed $84,000. But thanks to Humphrey's 10-year head start, his ending balance is still higher at 65. That's the raw power of compounding with time on your side. This is how 2 people with identical salaries can end up worlds apart. If Graham had never invested, he'd arrive at 65 with nothing but memories. Humphrey, who saved just $2,400 a year for a decade, would cross retirement with well over $630,000 from only $24,000 of contributions in his 20s. The earlier you start, the less you need to contribute to end up in a strong position. Time is a multiplier you can't replace later. Habit number 2. Capture raises, don't upgrade lifestyle. When a raise lands, most people unconsciously expand their lifestyle. A pricier apartment, a fancier lease, more dinners out, a couple new subscriptions, because we can. The raise disappears with nothing left to show. Wealth builders do something different. They freeze lifestyle for at least a year and automate the raise into investments. If a take-home raise adds $400 a month, they route that $400 straight into broad market index funds or their high-yield savings buffer on payday, before it reaches the spending account. 1 year later, they still feel like they live last year's life, but their net worth is permanently higher, and the raise keeps compounding for them every single month. This single habit is why equal incomes drift apart. One person teaches their money to buy assets. The other teaches their money to buy obligations. Same paychecks, opposite outcomes. Habit number 3. Build a system that makes good choices automatic. Rich future people don't rely on heroic willpower. They build a system that defaults to smart. A simple version: split your direct deposit, a fixed percentage to investments, a slice to high-yield savings for your buffer, and the rest to a bills-only checking account, plus a separate daily spending account. When your default is assets first, you remove the constant decision fatigue. Should I invest this month? The answer is always, already did. And the little monthly scoreboard gives you a dopamine hit from seeing progress, not from buying something. 2 people can earn the same $75,000 and end up in completely different universes because of a handful of habits. If you avoid lifestyle creep, eliminate high-interest debt, and actually measure where your money goes, then invest early, capture your raises, and automate the good decisions, time will do the heavy lifting for you. Equal income doesn't mean equal outcomes. Your defaults decide the difference. Habit number 2 that leads to wealth is simple but brutal. Pay yourself first. The biggest trap most people fall into is letting every dollar flow into their checking account, spending until it's gone, and then wondering why there's nothing left to show for 2 weeks of work. You've seen this pattern. Someone keeps their checking balance hovering at the same number, say $2,500. Payday hits, another $1,500 lands, and 2 weeks later, back to $2,500 again. Different transactions, same ending. Flip the script. The moment money enters your life, skim off a cut for future you before a single fun dollar gets spent. If you're paid $1,500 every 2 weeks, peel off $250 first thing. That's your automatic contribution to savings and investments, non-negotiable, invisible, and untouchable. It looks tiny, but personal finance is a stack of tiny, repeatable choices that compound into outcomes people call luck. Make this your default, and you'll be shocked how quickly the numbers tilt in your favor. Habit number 3 of people who end up rich: prioritize assets over liabilities. Wealthy people aim their dollars at things that throw cash back or appreciate over time. Broad market stocks, real estate with positive cash flow, or building a business. Dividends hit your account simply because you own shares. A rental sends you income every month. Then you can reinvest those flows to accelerate the flywheel. Liabilities do the opposite. They drain you. Think car payments. A car loses value each year, and if you financed it, you're paying principal plus interest on an asset that's literally melting. That's paying extra for something worth less each month. When 2 people have the same salary, the one feeding liabilities, luxury cars, fast depreciating status toys, quietly digs a hole. The one buying assets builds a platform. Same income, different trajectory. We've covered the behavior that compounds into results, but there's a deeper engine underneath all of it: money psychology. Personal finance and psychology are welded together, and the weld line is your mindset. Let's compare 2 people earning the same amount. One operates from scarcity, the other from abundance. The scarcity mindset constantly worries there won't be enough, now or later. When presented with investing, the instinct is to grip the cash tighter. Risk feels like guaranteed loss, so money gets stuffed under a metaphorical mattress. Logically, that's not optimal, but fear isn't logical. If you grew up with instability, war, or financial trauma, this wiring makes sense. I've seen it up close. My dad came to America with nothing, through hardship most people never face. Scarcity kept him alive. Hold what you have. Don't risk losing it again. But the same belief later blocked him from taking calculated risks he could afford. Even now, with enough to be comfortable, it's hard for him to enjoy what he earned. And here's the part I didn't realize for years. That mindset didn't just belong to him. It passed down, quietly, into me. Unlearning it is ongoing work. Choosing to see money as a tool, not a threat, and pushing myself toward an abundant frame. Scarcity shows up in another, sneakier way: stress spending. When money feels unsafe, some people buy instant comfort. More meals out, more little treats, to numb the anxiety. The short-term relief becomes a habit, and long-term goals slip further away. Same route, different behavior, same result. Now look at the abundance mindset. Abundance isn't delusion. It's the belief that there's enough opportunity and that you can create more. So money gets put to work now because it's a tool for growth. Abundance invests in self-improvement, courses, coaching, conferences, skill upgrades. To an outsider, spending $3,000 or $5,000 to attend a live event looks wasteful. To someone operating from abundance, it's a targeted bet on future return, new skills, better network, clearer roadmap. Abundance also embraces delayed gratification. Trade some now pleasure for compounding later gains. Progress builds confidence. Confidence fuels more smart action, and a virtuous cycle kicks in. This single difference, scarcity versus abundance, explains how 2 identical incomes can diverge into wealth or struggle. If you're watching and you want to land on the wealthy side, here are practical first moves that stack the deck. Start with a plan. Architects don't wing it and somehow end up with a suspension bridge. They draft a blueprint and build to spec. Your budget is that blueprint. Once you know your numbers on paper, you can assign each dollar a job on purpose. Next, eliminate consumer debt. If you're carrying balances, make killing them your mission. Every payment you no longer owe becomes permanent free cash flow you can redirect to assets. Without the drag of interest, your savings rate jumps, and your time frame to financial freedom shortens. Then, save and invest on purpose. People who end up rich don't accidentally stumble into a portfolio. They automate contributions and stick to a boring, resilient plan. That means broad index funds, steady deposits, and time in the market. No heroics required. Finally, live on less than you make. Lifestyle inflation is the slow leak that flattens otherwise good plans. Freeze your lifestyle for a year after a raise, and divert the raise to investments. Let future you enjoy the upgrade your assets pay for, not the other way around. By now, the pattern should be obvious. It's not your paycheck that decides your fate. It's the defaults you set and the identity you practice. Mastering money is mostly mastering yourself, your habits, your impulses, your story about what money is for. You don't need exotic spreadsheets, 12-step credit card hacks, or optimization wizardry. Those can be fun, but they're side quests. The main quest is awareness, intention, and repetition. If this clicked for you, tell me in the comments what mindset you grew up with, and what one habit you'll change this month. And when you're ready for the next step, watch the video I queued up about why you're not actually behind in life, and why it only seems like everyone else has more. I post on Twitter and Instagram almost daily. Come say hi there too. Thanks for spending your time with me today. Peace.